You could go on the street with your self-made banner, start an online petition or go streaking. In 2019, the options to voice yourself are endless. And the reasons why you could go protesting are also endless. So just think about something as simple as putting pineapple on pizza.
Pineapple on pizza? What kind of a human will want that? That's crazy.
Well, you just don't know what you're missing. And if you hate it so much, why don't you go protesting against it? Maybe the viewers at home want to join you. Well, I'll introduce myself. My name is Evke and I love pineapple on pizza.
My name is Marietta and I dislike pineapple on pizza. And welcome to Time Trippin. This is the show where we talk about topics that were really popular among young people back then in 60s, which is gonna be our era for today's show, and nowadays. And we try to find the common ground between them. So in today's episode, I'm gonna meet Marco Otten, who was really active back in the 60s and part of the group of Provos.
And in Pop-Pals, I will interview Aaron de Hoop. He's a young politician and activist. And in the end of the episode, me and Marietta and our guest will meet at the dinner table where we will break the bread between the two guests. And the 60s was the era of the Beatles and the first moon landing, but also a time of protests, rebellion and activism. And before we dive deep into the subjects, let's take a look at the facts.
In the 60s, protests were not that peaceful. People often ended up hurt or much worse. As time went by, people turned their backs on traditional protesting and rather opted for being politically active on social media. Let's see what both generations think about the changing ways of fighting for your rights.
Demonstrating was very popular amongst youth in the 60s. And the green activist group, the Provos, was quite well known in the Netherlands for their witty stunts and promotions. And as for our first guest, we would like to introduce Marco Otten. He has published a book about the Provos in 2017.
Welcome to our confession couch. You can enjoy your coffee. I actually want to ask you, because I heard you're a historian and you wrote a book about the Provos.
Yes.
Have you thought that you ever write a book before?
Well, actually I did.
Okay.
I published a book on the Holocaust.
Yes.
Before, so I have a bit of experience of publishing a book.
Oh.
But my Provo book is really a kind of almost a lifetime of research. I started it as a student,
Okay.
and I finished it only by 2017.
So it took way more time for you to write the second
Yes,
book.
yeah.
All right. And which one you feel more closer to you?
Obviously, there will be the Provo book.
Okay.
The Holocaust book needed to be written because we don't want that again.
Okay.
But the Provo book is something that is connected to my younger years and my time as a student. So I feel closer to the Provo movement.
That's good.
In that way.
Well, actually, our reporters from Time Trippin went to the room where our guest, Marco, finished the book. Let's take a look.
Tegenover het provotariaat van nozems, studenten en de hippie left stonden volgens de provo's de kleine burgers, het klootjesvolk. Hier hebben we hem dan. Ik heb dit boek. Nou, ik heb er wel een paar jaar over gedaan, maar ik heb dit boek dus hier aan deze tafel geschreven. Dit moet wel een prettige plek zijn. En dat is het voor mij ook. Ik kom hier altijd tot rust. En dan gaan mijn gedachten terug naar de jaren 60, die ik ook zelf een heel fijne herinnering aan heb. Maar het is vooral historisch interessant om aan de hand van bronnen de verhalen weer te reconstrueren uit die tijd. Groningen Historical Magazine wanted to have an article on the 60s in Groningen, just in Groningen. So I did some research in the Groningen archives to gather materials for this article, and right now it's being printed, I think. It will be published very soon.
Now let's go back to the 60s for a little bit, and how politically active you were back then when you were 16?
Well, at the age of the Provo movement, I wasn't active. I was too young for that, I guess. The Provo started out in 1965 and they lasted up to 1967. So in those days I was 15, 16 years of age. And I was a lot more interested in pop music than in politics, to be sure. But of course, the news of what is happening in Amsterdam and other cities was reaching my television set. So I was interested immediately. What are these young guys after? What do they want? And I soon found out that they called themselves anarchists, but they still wanted us to vote for them in the city council.
Okay.
So that's a weird kind of anarchism. And I also was pleased by their methods of action. Okay. They had they called themselves ludique, which means playful. And their political action was actually pranking the system, playing jokes on authorities, police, politicians, whatever. Okay. And the politicians in those days and the authorities in those days, and especially the police in those days, they didn't appreciate that kind of humor. They struck back with hard, they beat them up. They arrested them. They gave them long sentences in prison. They even invited new laws against young actions. This exposed the authoritarian character of the society in those days, and I liked that a lot. And later on, when I was 18, I started to do Vietnam protests. I started a movement in my school for a school parliament.
And did a lot of people actually join you after you started it, the movement?
Yes. There was the atmosphere in those days among young people was very engaged. They were really in for school parliament. They were really in for pacifism and anti-Vietnam demonstrations. And they really loathed the authoritarian character of their parents, and the society in general.
But if you, for example, start right now to protest and you are here to give advice for someone who wants to do it, what is going to be the first thing that you believe it's important to start?
Well, you really have to believe in what you're protesting against. You have to do some minimal research into the abuse that you're protesting against. You have to not just follow the crowd. You have to stand out individually, and to be sure that you're protesting against the right thing, and with the right attitude.
To have the power.
Yes, you need mobilizing your power. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yes, I like that.
And do you have tip for people that want to go protesting nowadays, but they, for example, are scared, they feel comfortable at home using social media, for example?
Of course they are scared, but nowadays I have two ways to comfort these people and to tell them not to be scared. First of all, the police nowadays is not like the police in the 60s.
Okay.
Believe me, there's an enormous difference.
Okay.
So the police will allow you to demonstrate. And the second way of comforting scared people is that there's a big chance that authority may listen or may react in a discussion way to what you're trying to tell them. And in those days, we were almost sure that nobody would listen.
Okay.
So our demonstrations were a kind of desperate demonstrations.
Yeah.
And that's what the Provo movement started out. They called themselves, we are the desperate resistance movement.
Yeah.
We don't believe that we will win this game.
Okay.
We will lose it.
Okay.
But we still have to take to the streets because of the importance of our issues.
Yeah.
They believed in their issues, obviously.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And I was really interested when we watched your video from the room you finished the book.
Yes.
There is a statue with Lenin.
Lenin. Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Is that a kind of idol for you, a special persona that you followed?
No. That was a kind of a prank too.
Oh.
Some of my when I was a student, we went to Russia, which was the Soviet Union at the time.
Yeah.
And these statues of Lenin, you could buy them in a supermarket. You could buy them
Okay.
almost everywhere. And some of my students, they call themselves Marxists and Leninists and whatever. I don't believe in isms in general.
Yeah.
And they were really, they thought that Lenin was really an important person in the history of the leftist movements.
Yeah.
And I didn't agree, but I still bought it to as a kind of a prank and put it on my cupboard and say, okay, well, if you start out to talk to me about Lenin, please watch this. I know all of this. You don't have to teach me Lenin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. We really felt the spirit of 60s. And actually, we went to Dam Square in Amsterdam to check what young people think nowadays about protesting in 60s.
The first question I have, what do you know about the 60s?
Oh, he knows a lot more than I do.
Eigenlijk vrijwel niks.
Nee, de Beatles komen uit de jaren 60.
Oké, dat is leuk
Ja?
om te weten.
Cool.
So 60s, with regards to that, it meant a lot about civil rights.
Gender issues, even the gay movement even came out of the 60s. So there were a lot of things that really got started then that you see today paying off.
What do you think about protesting now?
Protesting now, in a lot of ways, I think can be effective and ineffective.
Het is allemaal een beetje losvast. Iedereen post het op Instagram en dan voelen ze zich alsof ze iets hebben behaald.
Ik vind het vrij zinloos.
Yeah, there's definitely room for improvement.
Do you think that there could be ways that it could be improved, that it could actually reach its goal?
Oh, absolutely. You can always improve. As far as ideas, I don't have any for you.
It's just young people, I think. Young people just need to say something or be more involved, really.
The role of internet is a good one in that, or could we throw it out of the window?
It's absolutely necessary. I think there just needs to be a way to stand out because there is so many voices on the internet now. It's very hard to find one that stands out.
Ja, het internet kan dat medium zijn. En de hoop is natuurlijk ook geweest, toen internet in opkomst kwam, dat het de mensen zou verenigen.
Ik denk dat als je nu op de Dam gaat staan met 100 man, dat het iets meer gaat doen dan dat je met 100 man allemaal tegelijk een Instagram post doet of zo. Maar om te zeggen dat mensen dan echt gaan luisteren, weet ik nog niet.
We tend to be very vocal in social media. I think that's important, but it needs to be much more on the field itself than over the internet.
So let's go on the street all together to protest again.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Dank u wel. Hey, dank je wel. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we all know about social media nowadays, how powerful it is.
Yes.
Do you think it can be a medium for expressing protests and it can give the feeling about what you did before, the same power as going outside?
Yes, I think it's important to still to take to the streets. I do believe that, but I think the sound of your protest may be a lot harder, may become a lot harder if you louder, if you put it on the internet or you put it in the social media.
Okay.
You can make it much stronger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I do
I
believe
believe
that.
so as well.
Yeah.
And let's see what Efke wants to tell us.
Well, if you want to go more in depth about Marco and the Provost, then please visit our website, timetrippin.com. And to check more about activism nowadays, then go back to us after our commercial break, where we'll have to talk with Aaron in Pop Pals.
Welcome back to Time Trippin, the show which tries to find a common ground. Today's topic is 60s and activism. We talked a lot about it, right?
Yeah, well, we talked about that, but we of course also talk about pineapple on pizza.
Oh.
So how is your protest going?
Okay, I did my research, and actually there is a hashtag on Instagram,
No.
which is pineapple on pizza does not go right. It's really, thing that I'm gonna follow, and I'm gonna put my picture to express my opinion.
Well, I think that's really going to help the protest, Marietta. But before commercial break, we have interviewed Marco Otten. He was an expert on activism group, the Provost. But to find out what is going with activism nowadays, we would like to meet you, Aaron de Hoop, our next guest.
My name is Aaron, I'm 20 years old. And today I will be going to the general meeting of GroenLinks, political party in the Netherlands. Each half year we have a general meeting where all the members of the party come and discuss, debate basically. What's the most important thing that we are going to discuss today? Well, I think the agreement on which we'll join the coalition in Brabant. What do I want to achieve? For me, of course, the environment is really important. I'm not sure how many generations this earth can manage in the future. I think that if my children want to live on this earth without shortages of food, without shortages of clean drinking water, if we want to live longer than 20 or 30 or 40 years on this earth, we have to do something, and we have to do it now. And I think that it is important that everybody starts now.
Well, thank you, Aaron, for joining me today.
Thank you for having
Can
me.
we make a toast? Because
I think so.
We have two beautiful beers on a nice conversation. Well, in the video we just showed, you state that you actually want this world to be a good place for your grandchildren, but you're only 20 years old.
I am, yeah.
So I would like to know, despite your young age, how are you already so aware of the future?
Well, I think that if we, like I said in the video, if we don't start change now, we don't have to do it because we're too late. And if we look at science and the numbers and the statistics, we really we already have a problem, but in the next few years that problem will only grow bigger. And like I said, I believe that we really have to start change now, because if I don't change, my grandchildren won't have a chance to live on this earth anymore.
Yeah, and that would be a pity.
It would, yeah. I think so, yeah.
It's special that you've been triggered at such a young age already, so activist. And you're a member of GroenLinks, and you hold up also in a political party on a local size, and you do the social media platforms.
I am, yeah.
And what are the advantages of online activism towards the offline activism?
Well, I think that one does not go without the other. I think social media is a great way to reach out to people, to reach as many people as possible. But I think that the conventional way of going on the streets and really get face to face with someone, I think that we cannot underestimate the effects that really going out to people and going on the streets and asking people what they want. I think we cannot underestimate the effect that has.
But what are the specific advantages? Like what, like if you use the social media accounts, what is the things that you like? You reach more people.
Well, absolutely. I mean, of course, when you go out on the streets, you can only meet so much people because, well, when you go on social media, you can reach millions of people with one push of a button. So I think that, of course, you have a lot more range. You can reach a lot more people. But I think that, like I said, it is not more valuable than going out on the street.
But do you also think that because of the internet and over the years, protesters have actually become lazier?
Well,
so
I'm not sure if they've become lazier. Of course, it is easier to reach out to people nowadays. But of course, we saw with the climate marches in Amsterdam last year. I do not think that people actually got lazier. I just think that they shifted from one way of protesting to another one.
But as a very active person that likes to spread the word, because you also go on the street, have you ever been protesting?
I have not. Last year I wanted to join the climate marches, but I was busy with exams and so time-wise it wasn't possible for me to join them, but in the future I will join them absolutely.
Well, okay. After the break, we'll talk more about that. And we'll be back at our dinner table to break the bread with Aaron and also Marco. And then we will see if they can find common ground on activism through the decades. Well, welcome back at Time Trippin, and our two guests, Aaron and Marco, have joined us at our dinner table, and it's going to be time to actually break the bread.
Of course. So, the first and most important question of the day is, does pineapple goes on pizza? Who wants to start?
No way.
No?
Absolutely not.
No.
Oh, yeah, yes!
Oh.
That's why I have the bigger piece.
Yeah. That's a shame. Oh. And when demonstrating, I want a short and brief answer. When demonstrating, what is more effective, offline or online?
Offline.
Online.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Well, to see what demonstrating is like nowadays, we went to youth demonstration and we asked student protesters why they are out there and what is their motivation to protest.
Ja, nou ik steun de jeugd, want die protesteren eigenlijk. Hè? Maar ik ben al van de jaren 70 toen ik al protesteerde, dus wat dat betreft... Ja.
En dan voor het milieu of voor andere dingen?
Nee, milieu. Toen was het vooral kernenergie, hè.
Soms lijkt het heel even de goede kant op te gaan, maar dan doet de politiek weer iets waarvan je denkt...
Wat is dit? En dat
Wat
is
is
nu
dit?
het klimaatakkoord wat ze wilden.
Precies, maar ook dat iemand als Thierry Baudet bijvoorbeeld zoveel stemmen krijgt.
Ja,
dat is best wel... Ja, ik vind dat best wel schokkend, want nou, ik wil wel zo graag gewoon nog kunnen blijven leven.
Ben je dan bang dat er juist wel naar je geluisterd wordt? Of ben je bang dat mensen misschien je niet serieus nemen omdat je jonger bent?
Ja, weet je, dat kan twee kanten op gaan.
Ja.
Of ze denken dat die mensen zijn 17 of 14 of weet je, die weten helemaal niks.
Ja.
Of ze denken, kijk, deze generatie is ontzettend bezig met de politiek en die hebben ideeën en die vinden ook iets. En misschien dat ze er dan wel naar luisteren.
En wat staat er op jullie bord?
Wij zijn hier om ervoor te zorgen dat alles ordelijk en veilig verloopt. We hebben regelmatig demonstraties in Utrecht. Ja, daar is ook altijd begeleiding bij.
Maar vandaag staan wij niet alleen. Vandaag staan wij in Utrecht. Maar ze staan ook in Italië, ook in Spanje, in Polen. In alle landen staan ze in 119 landen.
Oké, hallo, ik sta hiernaast.
Dila Dogan, 16 jaar. En ik ben een van de organisatoren van Youth for Climate.
En merk je intussen dat door al het werk wat jullie erin stoppen, dat er echt wel wezenlijk dat mensen al mee gaan beseffen en zo wat er aan de hand is?
Ja, zeker. Als er iets is wat we echt hebben bereikt, dan is het dat veel meer mensen erover nadenken, veel meer mensen doorhebben dat het probleem zo groot is en dat het eigenlijk een veel groter iets is geworden in de politiek. En dat is iets wat we in ieder geval al wel hebben bereikt. En nu nog dat ze er echt wat mee gaan doen.
Well, Berit, you went to the demonstration. It was your first time. What did you think of it?
Well, it was so impressive. There were so many teenagers and kids so passionate about the environment. And I actually really learned how big the environment problem is. So I think it's so nice that these kids and teenagers are really protesting for it. So that was really nice to see, yeah.
And would you go a second time?
Yeah, definitely. And also for the party, of course, afterwards.
Well, actually we saw there is a trend nowadays in the demonstration field and it's called Friday Future for Protests, and young people or students take a day off from school and go demonstrating. What do you think about it? The youth being there because they want a free day.
Well, I think that on one side, of course, you have the problem of people skipping school. And on the other side, one of our most cherished rights is the right to protest. So I think that protesting goes above school in that case. I do.
And Marco?
I don't think it's a problem, students skipping school, because school is not the only place to learn. You can learn a lot from going and joining a demonstration, lest you study the subject and you're really into what you're demonstrating against.
Yeah.
Because if they sometimes when I hear interviews with these young kids, they don't seem to really know what it is about. They don't go in depth.
Okay.
I would like that to be more.
Okay.
But that's me as an educator.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Aaron, you've never protested before, but why did you never when there's so many options to do so?
Well, of course, when I was younger, I didn't really. Of course, I'm still young, but when I was even younger than I am now, I didn't really. I wouldn't say I didn't care, but it wasn't on my mind. I wasn't busy with it, and really, since I started widening my horizon, I found that protesting really is a way to get things done. So I think that since a few years, I really try to reach out to as many people as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked a lot about things that we have done or we didn't, and now I actually have a small game for you. Have you heard about Never Have I Ever? And the rules are really simple. You have to answer if you have or you haven't, and you have those answers here. So I'm gonna start with the first one, which is never have I ever skipped work or school to join a protest. Okay. What is your story, Marco?
Well, as a teacher, I joined a demonstration in Utrecht.
Okay.
For a better situation in education. But doing so, I had to leave some classes alone.
Yeah.
In that situation, I think actually I also got the opportunity, but I didn't go because I thought the teachers was going to punish me because I wasn't in school. So that's when I didn't go.
Well, the student didn't punish me because I wasn't.
Yeah, you weren't there at all. They had a free day.
Then I think the next question will really intrigue you, because it's never have I ever done something extreme to catch attention. Let's be honest here.
Something extreme to catch.
Well, what is extreme?
Well,
streaking.
Streaking.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
All right.
No, maybe like you go on the street with a certain protest, or I don't know, a particular Facebook post that's maybe.
Yes, something to attract attention.
Well.
Okay. Yes, let's hear.
Well, I challenged, when I was a student in school, we wanted a school parliament. And my school manager, he did not want us to demonstrate for school parliament.
Okay.
So I challenged him to have a personal debate on stage in front of the whole school population to talk to me about school parliament and why he wouldn't want it and why I wanted it.
Yes.
And all of a sudden he agreed to have these discussions, and it was I was very nervous at the time, but
yes.
I still think it's a very somewhat more or less extreme thing I did to get my message across.
Yeah,
you were really brave.
Yeah.
And one last one, it's never have I ever gotten in trouble with the police.
Well.
First the answers.
Yeah,
I see your doubt.
It depends. Well, both of my parents work with the police, so I have been in trouble with my parents a lot, but just police on the street now.
So when you would get caught because you're protesting on the street,
you mean by my parents?
When they get you, then your parents can bail you out.
Yeah. Well, they would if they could. They absolutely would. Yeah, most certainly.
Well, Aaron, are there some interesting answers for Marco, like some things you have learned from him?
Well, I find it really interesting that on one side, me as a young guy, I find offline protesting more powerful, and you as an experienced older person find online protesting more effective than offline. Why is that?
Well, the origin of the protest may be in the streets, right? So I took that for granted. But I think to put it on television, like the provost tried to do by pranking the demonstration, or nowadays you would do that online or in the social media. I think that to voice your protest, it makes it much more powerful, and that's why I voted online.
Okay.
Yes. But there's one big difference between us. You are in a party. By the way, a party that I vote for, so it's not against your party.
Very
but
nice, yeah.
The Provo movement actually was in a way, well, they did join elections, but in a way they were not party people. They didn't really believe in the political system. Not later on, maybe.
That's the difference between a movement and a party, of course.
Yes, they were a movement. And they had no members, no leaders officially. Of course, there were some people who stood out, but I always liked the idea of coming up for yourself, thinking for yourself, and well, nowadays we have a kind of a scandal within your party about people that were forced to follow the discipline of the faction in the chambers. But that's something that Provo really would be very, very much against. Okay. They really insisted that everybody needs to think for himself, then make decisions. Situationalists. So per situation, the decision may differ from the last situation, and they wanted really to tease people to use their own mind, their own opinion, to develop it. I like that a lot.
Well, Marco, is there one last short advice you want to give Aaron for his and his future to go towards activism?
I think you're very brave to enter the party and to maybe to follow a political career. I wish you a lot of luck.
Thank you.
But once in the party, please stress that everybody should be able to make their own choices and not follow some line that is set out by the party leader or whatever, because it spoils the game.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. And as you can see, the right to let your voice be heard is as important in 2019 as it was back then in the 60s. And with multiple options, online or offline, it's time to express yourself.
Yeah, it's time to open up conversations and dare to disagree, but do it respectfully.
And there is not always have to be a middle ground, and two opinions can perfectly sit on pizza.
Pizza, well,
Yeah.
that is surprising that you say that, because for the last time to convince you and maybe also to convince our guests, I actually arranged a pizza. It's half side with pineapple, but if you really disagree, then there's also one side without pineapple.
Well, I might try it at the end, and I'm not convinced still, but
We'll see, we'll see.
we can find the ground.
We would like to thank Marco and Aaron to be our guests today. And if you want to get more in depth about them or go back into the 60s, then go to our website, timetrippin.com.
Tomorrow I will be here again, but with Mario, and we're gonna talk about 70s and topics like nudity and feminism. And we will be here in the same place, same time.
Yeah, and do not worry about me, because I will be here again at Friday. So enjoy the rest of your day and come join Time Trippin with us tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thank you for watching.